Hi, everybody. It's Dr. Marson again. I realized as I was sending out the video that it actually wasn't an hour. It was like closer to 55 minutes. So I thought since we have a lot to cover, I thought I'd record a second video that, goes for a few more minutes, just talking about these two, the last two I was looking to get at. So I'm sorry. Okay. So I was talking about how this one, all right. So the perceptual integration part of this, um, one of the reasons why this is more of a sort of blatant problem that the person with perceptual integration has. And this is an interesting picture. When we talk about perceptual integration, you can get a sense here whether the person if there's trouble with perceptual integration here, it's almost like you've got some real evidence that the person's doing it on purpose. Because even with someone who is cognitively impaired or is psychotic to the point that they're picking up other they have a tendency to pick up on irrelevant parts of it. The picture is it basically takes up the whole frame that you would actively have to be working to find something else to talk about. Um, Sort of the same with the concrete and abstract thinking that if the person ignores that there's any sort of relationship with it, they're only focusing on elements of the picture. There's a man and there's a woman she has her hand on, then they're almost actively trying to purposely make things difficult or relate to um, or find other things to talk about. So it's almost like if you find that there's difficulties with perceptual integration here, like the person picks up irrelevant topic, it falls more into the information processing. Because information processing, one of the aspects of information processing is that that's where you pick up things on like whether the person complains about being bored or complains about being or complains about being irritated, other things that are interfering with what they want to do. Here, if you notice problems with perceptual integration or with ignoring the fact that there's a relationship, um, that is almost it leans towards the person doing that on purpose because it is so evident here what you're supposed to be focused on. Sort of the same thing as with this picture, the other one I was talking about. It's so blatant what you're supposed to be focused on, a woman being sad, and why she's sad and what's going on, that if they ignore that, you almost have to have the sense that they're doing it on purpose. They're actively, consciously trying to avoid talking about what's in the picture. Unlike the farm picture, where there are so many factors, there's definitely a woman in the front, but there's so many things that could be focused on if someone was not really processing things that way. Uh, that you have, that it would fit more than it would here. So this one is definitely one that emphasizes more relationship and emotions. And so, um, as far as emotions go, you're looking for do the emotions make sense? And given that this could reflect different emotions, you want to sort of pay attention to what direction does the person go. Typically, a story here will involve something doing with this, with the guy leaving. Um, but the question is she trying to hold him back? Is she trying to start an argument with him and he's leaving? Or is she trying to tell him how much she's going to miss him when she goes? So, um, is it sadness? Is it anger? Is it emotional connectedness, love? Um, is this where she pulls him back and tells him that she loves him. Is there a complexity to the emotion? Is it more like a movie where things are kind of straightforward and simplistic? Um, or is it more like real life? That's something that you often uh, pull up emotionally. As far as emotions, you're looking for is the emotion that comes up, does it make sense? And does it seem to be more geared to in the positive direction or the negative? Relationships, what's particularly interesting here is one thing you want to look for is does it sound like a movie? Like, does it actually sound like a plot of a movie that you've seen or you've heard about? So, is the person basing their view of relationships and connections with other people on their own experiences or on experiences they've read about in books or seen on movies or something along those lines? So, here you're pushing more for um, is the material being processed in a real world sort of way based on this person's real life experiences, or does it seem to be based more on movies and TV and books? Because there's such a dramatic quality to this. They have to wonder when that dramatic quality is there, what direction does the person go? Do they fall back on their real life experience on how people really interact, or they fall back more on the more simplistic, concrete, um, single faceted aspect of relationships in movies? And then one other thing that I want to pull up here, and again here, the perceptual integration, they may talk about there's a woman with her hand in her with her face in her hand and holding onto a door. But if you move, if you have a perceptual integration that does not somehow mention that there's a woman who is very sad in this picture, it is so blatantly part of what this picture is. So blatantly what this picture is. There's almost nothing in it except the door. So if the person is staying away from making some reference to there being a sad woman here, it suggests that it's being done on purpose. That the person is consciously putting effort into staying away from talking about the sadness that this woman clearly experiences. Um, and then this really emphasizes the emotions. And then what's interesting is this one, the when you look at um, the relationship issue here, one thing that comes up is does the narrator, the person you're evaluating, the person telling the story, focus on the relationship between these two people and talks about how the woman feels about the man or the man feels about the woman? Or does the person focus on sort of an outsider observer who talks about how they feel about the couple? And if that's the case, then how do they feel about the couple? Are they mad because they seem to be in love with each other? Are they mad or sad because they seem to be separating? Do they take the perspective of one or two actors in the story, or do they take the perspective of an outside observer watching these two actors? And in this case, um, the relationship that you're focusing on is that one was a relationship as it's occurring in the moment. This is clearly the aftermath of what happens in a relationship. So it tells you a little bit about how the person reacts to that. Okay, I will stop it for there, and then we'll pick this up again on the video lecture next week. And again, post or email your questions. Thanks.